Keep an eye out for the golden star during the video. If you spot it, comment the time you saw it, and you'll get a shout out in our next video. Happy hunting! A battle of magic at Astral Academy. The sky above the small village of Ravenscroft shimmered with an otherworldly light, casting an eerie glow over the dense forest that surrounded it. The ecliptic convergence, a celestial event that occurred only once every century, was unfolding. Stars aligned in a perfect symphony, their combined brilliance creating a cascade of magic that rippled through the atmosphere. Elara stood on the edge of the village square, eyes wide with awe as the heavens seemed to dance above her. She had heard tales of this rare event, stories passed down through generations, but witnessing it firsthand was beyond anything she had imagined. The air buzzed with energy, and she could feel it pulsing through her veins, igniting something deep within her. Without warning, a surge of raw power erupted from the sky, descending upon Ravenscroft like a storm of fireflies. Elara watched in horror as beams of light struck the ground around her, each impact resonating with a thunderous boom. The village was thrown into chaos. People screamed and ran, trying to avoid the cascading magic that threatened to engulf them. What's happening? Elara thought, her heart pounding. Why is this happening to me? She stumbled backward, trying to escape the relentless barrage, but a bolt of energy struck the ground just inches from her feet. The force knocked her off balance, and she fell hard, her hands scraping against the rough cobblestones. Pain shot through her palms, but she barely noticed. The magic around her was growing stronger, more intense, and she felt a strange warmth spreading through her body. "Elara!" a voice shouted, cutting through the din. She turned her head to see her mother, Althea, running toward her, panic etched across her face. "Get inside. It's not safe out here." Elara tried to push herself up, but another pulse of energy rippled through the air, more powerful than the last. It hit her like a tidal wave, and suddenly, the world around her shifted. Colors blurred, sounds distorted, and she felt herself being lifted off the ground. She screamed, but the sound was lost in the cacophony. In an instant, the surge of magic enveloped her, wrapping her in a cocoon of light. She felt her body convulse, her mind flooded with images and sensations she couldn't comprehend. She was floating, weightless, suspended between the stars and the earth. The magic coursed through her, igniting every nerve, every cell, transforming her from within. "Help me!" she thought desperately, her mind reaching out into the void. "Someone, please help me." Then, just as quickly as it had begun, the storm of magic subsided. Elara found herself lying on the ground, gasping for breath. The village was eerily silent, the only sound the distant crackling of fading energy. She pushed herself up on trembling arms, her vision slowly clearing. "Elara, are you all right?" Althea's voice was soft, but filled with concern. She knelt beside her daughter, her hands gently inspecting Elara for injuries. I think so," Elara whispered, her voice hoarse. "What happened?" Althea's eyes were wide with fear and something else, recognition. "The ecliptic convergence," she murmured. "It awakened your magic." Elara's mind reeled. She had always known about magic, had seen the village elders perform simple spells, but she had never shown any signs of having it herself. She was supposed to be ordinary just like everyone else. "Why now?" she asked, her voice barely more than a whisper. Althea shook her head. "I don't know, but we need to get you somewhere safe. This changes everything." As they made their way back to their small cottage, Elara couldn't shake the feeling of unease. The magic still hummed beneath her skin, a constant reminder of the power she now possessed. She glanced back at the village square, now littered with debris and faintly glowing with residual energy. "What does this mean for me?" she wondered, fear and excitement mingling in her chest. Little did Elara know, her life was about to change in ways she could never have imagined. The ecliptic convergence had not only awakened her magic, but had also set into motion a series of events that would lead her far from the familiar world of Ravenscroft and into the heart of a battle that would test her in ways she had never dreamed possible. The morning after the ecliptic convergence dawned with an unsettling quiet over Ravenscroft. Elara's cottage, usually filled with the comforting sounds of daily life, was now a place of hushed whispers and worried glances. Althea moved about the small kitchen, preparing a simple breakfast, but her mind was clearly elsewhere. Elara sat at the wooden table, absently tracing patterns in the grain with her finger. The events of the previous night replayed in her mind like a vivid dream. She could still feel the magic pulsing beneath her skin, a reminder of the power she had unleashed. "Elara," Althea began, her voice breaking the silence. "We need to talk." Elara looked up, meeting her mother's eyes. "What are we going to do, Mother? How do I control this magic?" Althea took a deep breath, her expression a mix of determination and fear. "There's only one place that can help you now, the Astral Academy. It's where the most powerful witches and wizards are trained. They can teach you to control your powers, to use them safely." Elara's heart skipped a beat. She had heard stories of the Astral Academy, a place of wonder and danger, where only the most gifted could hope to study. The thought of leaving her village, her home, was both thrilling and terrifying. "But how will we get there? It's on the Isle of Lumina, isn't it? And isn't it floating?" Elara's voice was tinged with disbelief. Althea nodded. "Yes, it is, and it's a long journey, but we have no choice. I sent a message to the Academy last night, explaining your situation. They responded quickly, and a guide will arrive today to escort you." Elara's mind raced with questions, but there was no time to ask them. A sharp knock on the door interrupted their conversation. Althea hurried to open it, revealing a tall, robed figure standing on the threshold. The guide's piercing blue eyes seemed to see right through Elara, making her shiver with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. "I am Master Selim." The guide introduced himself with a slight bow. "The Astral Academy has sent me to bring Elara to Lumina." Elara stood, feeling a rush of emotions. This was it, the beginning of a journey that would take her far from everything she had ever known. She took a deep breath and stepped forward, determination hardening her resolve. "Thank you, Master Selim," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "I'm ready." The journey to Lumina was unlike anything Elara had ever experienced. Master Selim led her through dense forests and across wide plains, each step bringing them closer to the magical heart of Arcanes. As they traveled, Elara marveled at the wonders around her. Enchanted flora that glowed with an inner light, streams that sang as they flowed, and creatures that seemed to exist only in fairy tales. "Master Selim," Elara asked during a rare moment of rest, "what is the Astral Academy really like?" Selim smiled, a hint of mystery in his eyes. "The Academy is a place of great learning and great responsibility. You will find wonders there, but also challenges. It is a place where you will discover who you truly are and what you are capable of." Elara pondered his words, the weight of them settling in her mind. She had always felt different, like she was meant for something more. Now, that something was within reach, and it both exhilarated and frightened her. As they approached the coast, Elara saw it for the first time. The Isle of Lumina, floating high above the ocean, its spires gleaming in the sunlight. A sense of awe washed over her. This was the place where she would learn to control her magic, where her new life would begin. Master Selim led her to a shimmering portal at the edge of the cliff. "This will take us to Lumina," he explained. "Step through and you will be at the Academy." Elara hesitated for a moment, then squared her shoulders. She stepped into the portal, feeling a rush of wind and light envelop her. When she emerged on the other side, she gasped at the sight before her. The Astral Academy was even more magnificent than she had imagined. Towers and turrets reached toward the sky, connected by bridges that seemed to defy gravity. The air was filled with the hum of magic, and students in colorful robes moved about, their conversations blending into a symphony of excitement and purpose. "Welcome to the Astral Academy," Master Selim said, a hint of pride in his voice. "Your journey begins here, Elara." Elara's heart swelled with anticipation. She knew that challenges lay ahead, but for the first time, she felt a glimmer of hope. This was her chance to learn, to grow, and to become the person she was always meant to be. As she followed Master Selim into the heart of the academy, Elara couldn't help but wonder what adventures awaited her. She was ready to face them, whatever they might be. The grand entrance hall of the Astral Academy was a breathtaking sight. Marble floors inlaid with intricate patterns of silver and gold reflected the ambient glow of floating lanterns, while towering stained glass windows depicted legendary magical battles and ancient rites. Elara followed Master Selim, her eyes darting from one marvel to the next, struggling to take it all in. Students in vibrant robes bustled about, their laughter and chatter filling the hall with life. Some carried stacks of spellbooks, while others practiced minor spells, their wands emitting sparks and swirls of light. Elara felt a rush of excitement mingled with apprehension. This was her new world, a place of learning and wonder, but also of unknown challenges. "Come," Master Selim said, leading her through the bustling crowd. "We must get you registered and assigned to your classes." They approached a grand desk where an elderly woman with spectacles perched on the end of her nose was sorting through parchment scrolls. She glanced up, her eyes twinkling with curiosity. "Master Selim, what brings you here today?" she asked, her voice warm and inviting. "We have a new student, Matron Lysandra," Selim replied, gesturing to Elara. "This is Elara of Ravenscroft. She will be joining us following the ecliptic convergence." Matron Lysandra's eyes widened slightly. "Ah, yes, the convergence has awakened many new talents. Welcome, Elara. Let's get you sorted." She produced a quill and a piece of parchment, noting down Elara's details with practiced efficiency. After completing the formalities, Matron Lysandra handed Elara a small, ornate key. "This is for your dormitory room in the Phoenix Wing. You'll find your schedule and necessary materials waiting for you there." "Thank you," Elara said, accepting the key with a mixture of gratitude and nervousness. Master Selim smiled reassuringly. "I'll take you to your dormitory now. This way." As they walked through the academy's winding corridors, Elara marveled at the magical artwork and enchanted statues that lined the halls. They passed classrooms where students were learning to levitate objects, brew potions, and cast protective charms. Each sight fueled her anticipation and eagerness to start her own training. The Phoenix Wing was a majestic section of the academy, its architecture designed to evoke the legendary bird of rebirth. The walls shimmered with a faint golden hue, and the air seemed warmer, imbued with a comforting energy. Master Selim stopped in front of a heavy oak door with the number 12 engraved on it. "This will be your room," he said, handing her the key. "You will share it with another student. Take some time to settle in and familiarize yourself with your schedule. Dinner is in the Great Hall at dusk." Elara unlocked the door and stepped inside. The room was cozy yet spacious, with 2 beds, a wooden desk, and a large window offering a stunning view of the floating gardens below. On one bed, a girl with fiery red hair and freckles was unpacking her belongings. She looked up as Elara entered and smiled warmly. You must be Elara."
"I'm Yora."
"Welcome to the Phoenix Wing." Elara felt an immediate sense of relief at Leora's friendly demeanor.
Leora."
"It's nice to meet you." They spent the next hour chatting as Elara unpacked. Leora filled her in on the academy's traditions, the best spots to study, and the most challenging professors. Elara listened intently, soaking up every bit of information. As dusk approached, the 2 girls made their way to the Great Hall. The grand dining room was an awe-inspiring sight, with long tables laden with food and a ceiling enchanted to reflect the night sky. Students from all years and disciplines gathered, creating a vibrant and welcoming atmosphere. Elara found herself seated next to Leora and a group of first-year students who were eager to share their experiences and tips. As she enjoyed the meal and the lively conversation, Elara felt a sense of belonging start to take root. This place, with all its magic and mystery, was beginning to feel like home. After dinner, the students were escorted to the central courtyard for the official welcome ceremony. The headmaster, a tall, imposing figure with a long silver beard, stood at the front of the gathered crowd. He raised his hands, and the murmurs of the students fell silent. "Welcome, new students, to the Astral Academy," he began, his voice resonating with authority and warmth. "You are here because you possess a gift, a spark of magic that sets you apart. Here, you will learn to harness that power, to understand its responsibilities, and to uncover the truths within yourselves. The journey ahead will be challenging, but remember, you are not alone. Together, we shall unlock the mysteries of the arcane." As the ceremony concluded, Elara felt a sense of resolve settle within her. She knew that the path ahead would be fraught with challenges, but for the first time, she felt ready to face them. With newfound determination, she returned to her dormitory, her mind buzzing with possibilities. As she lay in bed that night, Elara gazed out at the stars visible through her window. Her thoughts drifted to the ecliptic convergence and the surge of power that had brought her here. She couldn't help but wonder what the future held, but one thing was certain. Her adventure at the Astral Academy had only just begun. The dawn at the Astral Academy broke with a radiant sunrise, casting long shadows across the majestic towers and gardens below. Elara woke with a sense of anticipation, eager to begin her first day of classes. She dressed quickly, her heart pounding with excitement and a touch of anxiety. As she made her way to the grand hall for breakfast, the corridors buzzed with the energy of students preparing for the day ahead. Elara met up with Leora at the entrance to the grand hall. They found seats together and were soon joined by other first-year students, all of them chattering excitedly about their schedules and the classes they would be attending. As Elara listened, her thoughts drifted to the magic she had felt coursing through her veins during the ecliptic convergence. She was eager to learn how to control it, to make it a part of her rather than something that overwhelmed her. "Ready for our first class?" Leora asked, pulling Elara from her thoughts. "Definitely," Elara replied with a smile, though a flicker of nervousness danced in her eyes. "I just hope I don't make a fool of myself." "You'll be fine," Leora said confidently. "Just remember, we're all here to learn." Their first class of the day was basic spellcasting with Professor Thorn, a stern-looking woman with piercing green eyes and an aura of authority. The classroom was filled with ancient tomes and magical artifacts, and a chalkboard at the front listed the day's lesson: basic defensive spells. "Welcome, students," Professor Thorn began, her voice commanding attention. "Today, we will start with fundamental defensive spells. These are the building blocks of your magical education and are essential for your safety and the safety of others." Elara listened intently as Professor Thorn explained the theory behind the spells. When it was time to practice, the students paired up to cast protective barriers. Elara partnered with Leora, and they took turns attempting the spell. "Focus on channeling your energy into a protective shield," Professor Thorn instructed, walking among the students. "Visualize the barrier forming around you, solid and impenetrable." Elara took a deep breath, closed her eyes, and concentrated. She felt the magic within her, raw and potent, ready to be shaped. She visualized the barrier, imagined it strong and unwavering. With a flick of her wrist and a whispered incantation, she felt a surge of power flow through her. A shimmering shield appeared around her, flickering slightly before stabilizing. Elara's eyes widened with surprise and joy. She had done it. "Well done, Elara," Professor Thorn remarked, her eyes showing a hint of approval. "Keep practicing to strengthen it." The rest of the morning passed in a blur of classes and new experiences. In potion making, Elara marveled at the complexity of brewing magical elixirs, while in magical creatures, she was fascinated by the variety of beings they would study and care for. After lunch, Elara and her classmates gathered for their combat magic class, taught by the formidable Professor Malachar. He stood tall, his presence commanding and intimidating. His dark eyes scanned the room, settling briefly on Elara before moving on. "Combat magic is not just about brute force," Malachar began, his voice smooth and dangerous. "It is about strategy, control, and understanding your opponent. Today, we will focus on basic offensive spells and dueling techniques." Elara's pulse quickened. She had heard of Professor Malachar's reputation, both as a brilliant teacher and as someone not to be trifled with. The students were paired off, and Elara found herself facing a tall boy named Cashin, who looked equally nervous and determined. "Begin," Malachar commanded. Cashin was quick, launching a spell that Elara barely deflected in time. She felt the impact of the magic against her hastily formed shield, the force of it reverberating through her. Determined not to be outdone, she focused and cast a stunning spell, aiming for precision rather than power. The spell hit its mark, catching Cashin off guard and sending him stumbling back. He recovered quickly, a grin forming on his face. "Nice one, Elara. Let's see what else you've got." They continued to duel, their spells crackling through the air, each exchange pushing Elara to tap deeper into her abilities. She felt herself growing more confident, more in tune with the magic that flowed through her. "Stop!" Malachar's voice cut through the sounds of battle. "That will be enough for today." As the students lowered their wands, Malachar approached Elara. "You show promise," he said, his tone inscrutable. "But promise alone is not enough. You must hone your skills, refine your control." Elara nodded, her mind racing with the possibilities. "I will, Professor. See that you do," he replied, his gaze lingering on her before he turned to address the rest of the class. The day ended with a sense of accomplishment and a burning desire to improve. Elara walked back to her dormitory with Leora, discussing their experiences and the challenges they had faced. "Malachar is intense," Leora remarked, "but you did great. That duel was impressive." "Thanks," Elara said, her thoughts still on the day's lessons. "I just hope I can keep up." "You will," Leora said confidently. "We'll help each other." As they reached their room, Elara felt a surge of determination. The Astral Academy was everything she had hoped for and more. It was a place of magic and mystery, of learning and growth. She knew the path ahead would be difficult, but she was ready to face it. That night, as she lay in bed, Elara's thoughts returned to the duel with Cashin and the look in Malachar's eyes. She felt a sense of resolve settle within her. This was just the beginning. There were challenges to overcome, powers to master, and secrets to uncover. Her journey at the Astral Academy had only just begun, and she was ready for whatever came next. Elara woke early, a sense of purpose driving her to prepare for the day ahead. She quickly got dressed and met Leora for breakfast, eager to start their second day of classes. The excitement from the previous day still lingered, but it was now tempered by a steely determination to improve. Their first class was Advanced Spell Theory with Professor Eldrin, a kindly old wizard with a penchant for long-winded lectures. Elara found the material fascinating, but it was hard to concentrate with the anticipation of their combat magic class later that afternoon. By the time they reached Professor Malachar's classroom, the atmosphere was charged with energy. The students lined up, eager to show their progress. Malachar stood at the front, his dark eyes scanning the room, assessing each student with a critical gaze. "Today," Malachar began, "we will delve deeper into offensive and defensive spells. Pair up, and remember, control is key. Raw power without control is more dangerous to you than to your opponent." Elara partnered with Leora this time, and they began practicing. The spells flew faster and more precisely than the day before. Elara felt herself becoming more attuned to the flow of magic, each incantation feeling more natural. As the class progressed, Malachar moved among the students, offering pointers and critiques. When he reached Elara and Leora, he paused, watching them closely. "Good, Elara," he said. "Your control has improved, but your spells lack a certain intensity. You must learn to channel your emotions, to let your magic be an extension of your will." Elara nodded, determined to take his advice to heart. "I understand, Professor." Malachar's gaze lingered on her for a moment before he moved on. Elara focused harder, pushing herself to integrate his guidance. She felt the magic respond, her spells becoming sharper, more forceful. After class, Malachar approached Elara. "A word, Elara." Leora gave her a supportive smile as Elara followed Malachar to his office, a dark, imposing room filled with ancient tomes and mysterious artifacts. He gestured for her to sit. "You have potential, Elara," Malachar began, his tone measured, But potential is not enough. You must strive for mastery. I can help you, but it will require dedication and a willingness to face the darker aspects of magic. Elara felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. What do you mean, Professor? There are powers within you, awakened by the ecliptic convergence, that need to be harnessed properly, Malachar explained. This requires exploring all facets of magic, including those that are less commonly taught. Elara hesitated. She had heard whispers of dark magic, forbidden spells that could corrupt even the most well-meaning wizard. But the desire to understand and control her powers was strong. I want to learn, she said finally. I want to master my magic. Malachar nodded. Very well. We will begin special lessons tomorrow at dawn. Be prepared. As Elara left Malachar's office, her mind buzzed with possibilities. The opportunity to receive private instruction was thrilling, but she knew it would not be without risks. She returned to her dormitory, where Leora was waiting. How did it go? Leora asked, her eyes full of curiosity. Malachar wants to give me private lessons, Elara said. He thinks I have potential, but it means delving into some of the darker aspects of magic. Leora's expression turned serious. Be careful, Elara. Malachar is brilliant, but his methods can be intense. I know, Elara replied, but I need to understand my powers. I have to do this. The next morning, Elara woke before dawn and made her way to Malachar's private study. The room was dimly lit, the shadows flickering as candles burned low. Malachar stood at a large desk, his attention focused on an ancient manuscript. Good you're here, he said without looking up. We have much to cover. For the next hour, Malachar guided Elara through exercises designed to push her limits. He taught her how to draw power from her emotions, to use her fear and anger to fuel her spells. It was exhausting and exhilarating, each success a testament to her growing skill. As the weeks passed, the special lessons became more challenging. Malachar introduced her to spells that required precision and a deep understanding of magical theory. Elara found herself engrossed in her studies, driven by a desire to master every aspect of her magic. One evening, during a particularly intense session, Malachar handed Elara a dark, leather-bound book. This contains spells and knowledge not found in your regular curriculum, he said. Study it well. It will aid you in understanding the full scope of your abilities. Elara took the book, feeling the weight of its significance. She knew that mastering these spells would require dedication and a willingness to confront her deepest fears. She was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As she walked back to her dormitory, Elara's mind was filled with thoughts of the powerful spells she had learned. She felt stronger, more confident, but also aware of the dangers that came with such knowledge. Back in her room, she opened the book and began to study its contents. The spells were complex, requiring precision and control. Elara practiced late into the night, her determination unwavering. Leora watched her friend with concern. Elara, you need to rest. You've been pushing yourself so hard. I can't stop now, Leora, Elara replied, her eyes fixed on the book. There's so much to learn, and I need to be ready for whatever comes next. Leora sighed but didn't press further. She understood Elara's drive, even if it worried her. Days turned into weeks, and Elara's skills continued to grow. She felt more in control of her magic, more capable of facing the challenges ahead. Yet, she also sensed a growing darkness within her, a side effect of the powerful spells she had been practicing. One night, as she practiced a particularly challenging spell, the magic surged out of control. The room filled with a blinding light, and objects flew off the shelves, crashing to the floor. Leora rushed to her side, helping to steady her. Elara, stop! You're losing control. Leora's voice was urgent, filled with concern. Elara took a deep breath, forcing herself to calm down. The magic subsided, leaving the room in disarray. She looked at Leora, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and frustration. I'm sorry, Elara said quietly. I didn't mean for this to happen. It's okay, Leora replied, hugging her friend. But you need to be careful. These spells are powerful, and they can be dangerous. Elara nodded, resolving to be more cautious. She knew that mastering her magic was a delicate balance, one that required both strength and restraint. The next day, Elara met with Malachar, determined to gain better control over her abilities. He watched her closely as she practiced, offering guidance and encouragement. "Remember, Elara," he said, his voice firm, "power without control is chaos. You must learn to harness it, to make it an extension of your will." Elara took his words to heart, focusing her energy and determination. She felt the magic responding, becoming more precise and controlled. Each success brought her closer to mastering her abilities, to understanding the true extent of her powers. As the weeks passed, Elara's confidence grew. She felt ready to face any challenge, to overcome any obstacle. Yet, she remained aware of the darkness within her, a constant reminder of the risks that came with her newfound strength. Her journey at the Astral Academy was far from over, but Elara knew she was on the right path. With each lesson, each challenge, she grew stronger and more determined. She was ready to face whatever lay ahead, knowing that her magic was both a gift and a responsibility. Elara's resolve was unshakable. She would master her powers no matter the cost. The Astral Academy had given her a purpose, and she was determined to see it through. Elara's days at the Astral Academy were filled with intense study and rigorous practice. She thrived under Malachar's tutelage, her skills growing sharper with each lesson. But the whispers of dark magic and the mysterious book she had been given nagged at the edges of her mind. She spent every free moment poring over its contents, deciphering its arcane symbols and mastering its complex spells. One evening, as Elara was engrossed in the book, Leora burst into their room, eyes wide with excitement. "Elara, you won't believe this. There's a hidden section of the library that only opens at midnight. It's said to contain forbidden knowledge and ancient spells. We have to check it out." Elara's curiosity was piqued. "Really? How did you find out about it?" "A few older students were talking about it in the Great Hall," Leora said. "They say it's guarded by powerful enchantments, but I think we can get in." Elara considered the risk. If they were caught, the consequences could be severe. But the lure of hidden knowledge was too strong to resist. "All right," she said, closing the book and setting it aside. "Let's do it." As midnight approached, the two girls sneaked out of their dormitory and made their way to the library. The vast, dimly lit hall was deserted, the shelves towering above them like silent sentinels. They moved quietly through the shadows, avoiding the watchful eyes of the enchanted statues that guarded the aisles. They reached a secluded corner where a large ancient door stood, its surface etched with glowing runes. Leora pulled out a small vial of silver liquid. "This is supposed to temporarily nullify the enchantments," she whispered, applying the liquid to the door. The runes flickered and dimmed. Elara took a deep breath and pushed the door open. It creaked ominously, revealing a spiral staircase descending into darkness. They exchanged a glance and began their descent, the air growing colder with each step. At the bottom of the stairs, they found themselves in a chamber lined with shelves filled with dusty tomes and strange artifacts. The air crackled with latent magic, and an eerie silence enveloped them. Elara's eyes widened as she took in the sight. This was a treasure trove of forgotten knowledge. "Look at this," Leora said, picking up a weathered book bound in black leather. "It's a compendium of ancient curses and their counterspells." Elara moved to a nearby shelf, her fingers trailing over the spines of the books. She pulled out a particularly thick volume titled The Lost Arts of Elemental Manipulation. As she opened it, a faint glow emanated from the pages, illuminating her face. Hours passed as they explored the hidden chamber, each discovery more fascinating than the last. They lost track of time, absorbed in their studies. Suddenly, a faint sound reached their ears, like the whisper of footsteps on stone. "We need to go," Elara said urgently. "Someone's coming." They quickly gathered their things and made their way back up the staircase, careful to close the door behind them and reapply the silver liquid to reactivate the enchantments. They hurried back to their dormitory, their hearts pounding with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. Back in their room, they examined their finds. Elara couldn't stop thinking about the book she had found on elemental manipulation. It contained spells that could enhance her combat skills and give her an edge in her lessons with Malachar. Over the next few days, Elara secretly practiced the spells she had learned from the hidden library. She felt her control over her magic deepening, the elemental spells blending seamlessly with the techniques Malachar had taught her. The power she wielded was intoxicating, but she knew she had to be careful. During one of her private lessons, Malachar noticed the change in her abilities. "You've improved significantly," he remarked, a hint of suspicion in his voice. "Where have you been learning these new techniques?" Elara hesitated, unsure how much to reveal. "I've been studying extra on my own," she said carefully. "I found some old texts in the library that have been very helpful." Malachar's eyes narrowed, but he didn't press the matter further. "Very well. Continue to hone your skills, but remember the importance of balance and control." Elara nodded, relieved that he hadn't questioned her further. She knew that she was treading a fine line, but the knowledge she had gained was too valuable to ignore. One night, while practicing a particularly difficult spell from the elemental book, Elara felt a strange resonance with the magic in the air. She realized that the ecliptic convergence had not only awakened her powers, but had also left a lingering connection to the magical forces that permeated the academy. She focused on this connection, drawing the elemental energy into her spell. The room filled with a brilliant light as the magic surged through her, more powerful than ever before. As the light faded, Elara stood in the center of the room, panting from the exertion. She felt a deep sense of satisfaction and a newfound confidence in her abilities. She was ready to face any challenge that came her way. But as she prepared for bed, a nagging thought crept into her mind. The knowledge she had gained from the hidden library was powerful, but it came with a price. She needed to be careful, to ensure that her thirst for power did not lead her down a dark path. Elara knew that her journey at the Astral Academy was just beginning. There were still many secrets to uncover, many challenges to overcome. But with each step, she grew stronger, more determined to master her magic and to fulfill her destiny. As she drifted off to sleep, Elara's dreams were filled with visions of elemental forces and ancient spells, of battles yet to be fought and mysteries yet to be solved. The path ahead was uncertain, but she was ready to face it, whatever it might hold. Elara's newfound mastery over elemental magic invigorated her. Each day at the Astral Academy brought new challenges, and she met them with growing confidence. However, the whispers of forbidden knowledge and the ever-present danger of her darker studies loomed over her like a shadow. One crisp morning, the Academy was abuzz with news of an upcoming exhibition duel. These duels were highly anticipated events, showcasing the talents of the Academy's best students. Elara's name was on the list, alongside Cashin and several other promising duelists. The event was to take place in the Grand Arena, a magnificent structure designed to test the limits of magical prowess. As the day of the duel approached, Elara focused intensely on her training. She combined the elemental spells she had learned with the techniques from Malachar, honing her abilities to a razor's edge. Leora watched her friend with admiration and a touch of concern. "Elara, you know you don't have to push yourself so hard," Leora said one evening as they practiced together in a secluded courtyard. "You're already one of the best." "I have to be better," Elara replied, determination burning in her eyes. "This duel is my chance to prove myself." The morning of the duel, the Grand Arena was packed with students and faculty. The atmosphere was electric with anticipation. Elara stood in the center, her heart pounding with excitement and nerves. She looked around at the other duelists, all of whom wore expressions of focused determination. Headmaster Aurelius stepped forward, his presence commanding silence. "Welcome, students, to the exhibition duel. Today, you will witness the skill and power of our most talented duelists. Let the matches begin." Elara's first opponent was a tall girl named Seraphine, known for her agility and precision. As the duel began, Seraphine launched a series of rapid spells, which Elara deftly deflected with her elemental shields. The crowd watched in awe as Elara countered with a powerful burst of wind, sending Seraphine sprawling. "Impressive control," Seraphine said, getting to her feet. "But let's see how you handle this." Seraphine conjured a whirlwind of fire, aiming it directly at Elara. Drawing on her training, Elara summoned a torrent of water, extinguishing the flames and creating a mist that enveloped the arena. Using the cover, she launched a series of precise, stunning spells, each one finding its mark. Seraphine conceded with a nod of respect. Elara advanced through the rounds, each duel testing her skills and pushing her to new heights. The final match was against Cashin, her friend and rival. As they faced each other, a murmur of excitement ran through the crowd. "Let's give them a show," Cashin said, a grin spreading across his face. "Let's," Elara agreed, her eyes gleaming. The duel began with a flurry of spells, each trying to outmaneuver the other. Cashin's strength was his brute force, while Elara's agility and control gave her an edge. The air crackled with energy as their spells collided, creating explosions of light and sound. Drawing on her elemental magic, Elara created a ring of fire around Cashin, forcing him to use his own power to break free. He retaliated with a powerful shockwave, but Elara was ready. She absorbed the energy, redirecting it into a massive burst of wind that sent Cashin flying across the arena. Cashin landed hard but got up quickly, his eyes blazing with determination. "You're good, Elara, but I'm not done yet." He unleashed a barrage of lightning spells, each one more intense than the last. Elara danced around them, her movements fluid and precise. She countered with a spell from the hidden library, summoning a wave of earth that surged towards Cashin. The ground trembled as the wave struck, knocking Cashin off balance. Sensing her opportunity, Elara cast a binding spell, immobilizing him and ending the duel. The crowd erupted in applause, and Headmaster Aurelius stepped forward. "An outstanding performance by all our duelists," he announced. "Elara, your control and mastery of elemental magic are truly remarkable. You have proven yourself today." As the applause died down, Elara felt a swell of pride. But amid the cheers, she noticed Professor Malachar watching her with a strange intensity. His eyes conveyed a mixture of pride and something darker, something that made her uneasy. Later that evening, Elara returned to her dormitory, exhausted but exhilarated. Leora greeted her with a hug. "You were amazing, Elara. I've never seen anything like it." "Thanks, Leora," Elara said, smiling, "but I couldn't have done it without your support." As they settled in for the night, Elara's mind wandered back to Malachar's gaze. She knew she had impressed him, but she also sensed that her success had drawn his attention in ways she hadn't anticipated. The path ahead was fraught with challenges, but she was more determined than ever to master her magic and uncover the Academy's secrets. That night, as she drifted into sleep, her dreams were filled with visions of future battles, of hidden knowledge waiting to be discovered. She knew that the real tests were yet to come, and she was ready to face them head-on. The rising threat of dark magic loomed on the horizon, but Elara was prepared to confront it, armed with her growing powers and unyielding resolve. The morning sun cast long shadows across the grounds of the Astral Academy, creating a sense of foreboding. Elara woke with a start, the echoes of her dream lingering in her mind. She dressed quickly, eager to start the day but also wary of the challenges ahead. Today marked the beginning of a new set of trials, ones that would push her abilities to their limits. As she made her way to the grand hall for breakfast, the air buzzed with an unusual tension. Whispers of a forthcoming storm of unprecedented power had spread throughout the academy. The teachers seemed on edge, and students exchanged anxious glances. Elara found Leora at their usual table, her friend's face mirroring the concern she felt. "Have you heard about the storm?" Leora asked, her voice low. Elara nodded. "Yes, but I don't know what to expect. Do you think it's connected to the ecliptic convergence?" "Possibly," Leora replied. "Professor Thorn mentioned that such storms can amplify magic, making spells more volatile." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Professor Malachar, his expression grave. "Elara, Leora, follow me," he commanded, his tone leaving no room for questions. They followed him to his office, where he shut the door and turned to face them. The storm approaching is unlike any we've seen in centuries. It will test every student's control over their magic. Elara, your progress has been remarkable, but this storm could either be your greatest opportunity or your downfall. Elara felt a surge of determination. "What do we need to do, Professor?" "Prepare," Malakar replied. "Focus on fortifying your defenses and honing your elemental spells. The storm will be here by nightfall. When it arrives, the Academy's wards will be tested, and we may face intrusions from dark forces seeking to exploit the chaos." Elara and Leora exchanged a glance, understanding the gravity of the situation. They spent the rest of the day in intense preparation, practicing defensive spells and strengthening their magical barriers. The sky darkened progressively, and by evening, it was an ominous shade of black, streaked with flashes of lightning. As night fell, the storm hit with full force. The wind howled, and rain lashed against the Academy's walls. Inside, the students and faculty gathered in the Great Hall, where Headmaster Aurelius addressed them. "Tonight, we face a great challenge," he announced. "This storm will test our resilience and our unity. Stay vigilant and support one another." Suddenly, a deafening crack of thunder shook the building, and the lights flickered. The wards around the Academy shimmered, struggling to contain the storm's fury. Elara felt the magic in the air surge, wild and unpredictable. "To your positions," Malakar shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. Elara and Leora took their places, joining the other students in forming a protective circle around the Great Hall. They chanted incantations, their wands glowing as they projected a powerful shield. The storm's intensity grew, and with it came a wave of dark creatures, shadowy figures that clawed at the barriers, seeking entry. "Hold the line," Elara commanded, her voice strong and unwavering. The students focused their energy, reinforcing the shield. Elara felt the elemental magic within her responding to the storm, amplifying her power. She directed a torrent of wind and water at the dark creatures, driving them back. Leora conjured bolts of lightning, striking down any that got too close. Despite their efforts, the assault was relentless. More shadows emerged, and the strain of maintaining the shield began to take its toll. Elara's muscles ached, and sweat dripped down her face, but she refused to relent. "Elara! Behind you!" Leora yelled. Elara spun around just in time to deflect a shadowy tendril that had breached the barrier. She countered with a blast of fire, incinerating the creature. But for every one they defeated, more took its place. In the midst of the battle, Elara noticed Malakar standing at the front, his hands raised as he chanted an ancient spell. The ground beneath him glowed with runes, and a dome of light began to form, expanding outward to cover the entire Great Hall. "Keep them at bay," Malakar urged, his voice strained. Elara and the other students redoubled their efforts, buying time for Malakar to complete the spell. The dome of light grew brighter, its energy pulsating with raw power. The shadows recoiled, their attacks faltering. With a final, powerful incantation, Malakar released the spell. The dome surged outward, enveloping the Academy and pushing back the storm. The dark creatures dissolved into mist, and the oppressive weight of the storm began to lift. Exhausted but triumphant, Elara and Leora collapsed to the ground, their breaths coming in ragged gasps. The Great Hall was silent except for the heavy breathing of the students and the faint hum of residual magic. "Well done," Malakar said, his voice softer now but filled with pride. "You have all shown remarkable strength and courage." Elara looked around at her fellow students, feeling a deep sense of camaraderie. They had faced the storm together and emerged victorious. But she also knew that this was just the beginning. The storm had tested their defenses, but darker challenges lay ahead. As the Academy began to recover from the night's events, Elara's mind raced with thoughts of what was to come. The storm had revealed the extent of her powers and the importance of control. She was determined to continue her studies, to become even stronger, and to be ready for whatever future battles awaited. That night, as she finally lay down to rest, the echoes of the storm faded, replaced by a calm determination. Elara knew that her journey was far from over, but she was ready to face the gathering storm, armed with her magic and an unyielding resolve. The days following the storm were filled with an eerie calm, as if the academy itself was holding its breath. Students returned to their routines, but the memory of the dark creatures and the intense battle lingered in the air. Elara threw herself into her studies, pushing her limits in preparation for the upcoming final exams. The morning of the exams dawned with a sense of anticipation. The academy's grounds were bathed in golden light, but the atmosphere was tense. Elara met Leora at breakfast, their conversation hushed but charged with excitement. "Today is the day," Leora said, her eyes sparkling with determination. "Are you ready?" "As ready as I'll ever be," Elara replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "We've trained hard for this." After breakfast, the students gathered in the Great Hall, where Headmaster Aurelius stood waiting. His presence commanded silence, and he addressed them with a mixture of pride and gravity. "Today, you will face your final exams," he announced. "These tests are designed to challenge your skills and push you to your limits. Remember, it is not just about power, but control, wisdom, and resilience. I have faith in each of you. Now, proceed to your designated areas." Elara and Leora followed the crowd to the practice fields, where various stations had been set up for different types of magical trials. Elara's first test was a duel, and she found herself paired against Seraphine once again. The two exchanged nods of respect before taking their positions. "Begin!" the proctor called. Seraphine launched a series of rapid spells, but Elara was ready. She deflected them with ease, countering with a burst of wind that knocked Seraphine off balance. The duel was intense, their spells clashing with explosive force. Elara felt the familiar surge of elemental magic within her, guiding her movements. With a swift incantation, Elara summoned a wave of earth, pinning Seraphine in place. "Yield!" she commanded, her voice steady. Seraphine struggled for a moment before nodding. "Well done, Elara. You've improved." Elara smiled, helping Seraphine to her feet. "Thank you. You were amazing too." The next trial was a test of magical endurance. The students were required to maintain a complex spell for an extended period, channeling their energy without faltering. Elara chose to create a protective barrier, focusing on its strength and stability. She felt the strain as the minutes ticked by, but she drew on her training and the elemental magic she had mastered. By the end of the trial, sweat dripped down her face, but the barrier remained intact. The proctor nodded in approval, and Elara moved on to the final test, a maze filled with magical traps and puzzles. As she entered the maze, the air crackled with energy. Elara navigated the twists and turns, her senses heightened. She encountered traps that tested her reflexes, puzzles that challenged her intellect, and illusions that played on her fears. But with each challenge, she remained focused, using her magic with precision and control. Midway through the maze, she encountered a shadowy figure, a remnant of the dark creatures from the storm. It lunged at her, and Elara reacted instinctively, summoning a burst of fire that enveloped the creature, reducing it to ashes. Panting, she continued through the maze, her determination unwavering. She reached the center, where a pedestal held a glowing crystal. Elara approached it cautiously, feeling the pulse of its magic. She reached out and touched the crystal, completing the trial. The maze dissolved around her, and she found herself back on the practice field. Headmaster Aurelius and Professor Malachar stood waiting, their expressions unreadable. "Elara," Aurelius said, his voice carrying a note of pride, "you have demonstrated exceptional skill and control. You are ready for the next stage of your journey." Malachar stepped forward, his gaze intense. "Your mastery of elemental magic is impressive, but remember, power must always be balanced with wisdom. Continue to seek knowledge and understanding." Elara nodded, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment. She had faced the trials and emerged victorious, but she knew her journey was far from over. As the students gathered to celebrate their successes, Elara and Leora exchanged relieved smiles. "We did it," Leora said, hugging her friend. "Yes, we did," Elara replied, her heart filled with gratitude and determination. "But this is just the beginning. There's so much more to learn, and so many challenges ahead." That night, as Elara lay in bed, she reflected on the trials she had faced and the lessons she had learned. The storm had tested her limits, but it had also revealed her strength. She was ready for whatever came next, armed with her magic and the unwavering support of her friends. The future was uncertain, but Elara knew one thing for sure. She was prepared to face it head-on, with courage and determination. The final exam was just one step on her path, and she was ready to embrace the journey ahead. The morning after the exams, Elara woke to a world transformed. The air was crisp with a sense of new beginnings, and the Academy's grounds shimmered under the early light. Despite the exhaustion from the previous day's trials, she felt a surge of energy and purpose. As she joined Leora for breakfast, they noticed a change in the atmosphere. The great hall buzzed with excitement and nervous energy. Rumors had spread of an impending visit from a high-ranking official of the Magical Council, someone who rarely left the confines of the Council's ancient halls. "Do you think it's true?" Leora asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Elara shrugged, trying to remain calm. "If it is, it must be something significant. We need to stay focused and be ready for anything." Their conversation was cut short as Headmaster Aurelius entered the hall, flanked by Professor Malachar and other senior faculty members. The room fell silent as Aurelius stepped forward, his expression grave. "Students, today we have a rare honor," he began. "High Counselor Arion of the Magical Council will be visiting our academy. His visit is both a privilege and a test. I expect each of you to demonstrate the skills and discipline you have honed here." Elara exchanged a glance with Leora, the gravity of the situation sinking in. High Counselor Arion was known for his strict standards and keen insight into magical prowess. His visit was unprecedented and carried a weight of expectation. The students gathered in the central courtyard, a grand space adorned with statues of past heroes and surrounded by the Academy's majestic architecture. As they waited, a ripple of energy seemed to pass through the crowd, signaling the arrival of the High Counselor. Arion appeared, an imposing figure with a commanding presence. His silver hair and piercing blue eyes conveyed wisdom and authority. He was accompanied by a group of elite wizards, their robes marked with the insignia of the Council. "Students of the Astral Academy," Arion began, his voice resonating through the courtyard, "I have come to witness the fruits of your training and to assess the readiness of the next generation of magical guardians. Today, you will demonstrate your abilities in a series of trials designed to test your limits." Elara felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. The final exams had been challenging, but this was on another level. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for what lay ahead. The trials began with a test of elemental control. Each student was tasked with manipulating the elements in increasingly complex ways. Elara focused on her training, drawing upon the knowledge she had gained from Malachar and the hidden library. She summoned fire, water, earth, and air, weaving them into intricate patterns that dazzled the onlookers. Arion watched with an appraising eye, nodding slightly as Elara completed her demonstration. Next came a series of combat simulations, where students faced off against conjured adversaries. Elara moved with grace and precision, her spells striking true as she dismantled each foe. As the trials progressed, Elara noticed a growing unease among the faculty. Whispers of a potential threat had reached her ears, and she couldn't shake the sense that something was amiss. She kept her focus, but her mind raced with possibilities. During a brief intermission, Malachar approached Elara. "Stay vigilant," he murmured. "There are forces at play today that go beyond mere trials." Elara nodded, her resolve hardening. She returned to the courtyard, ready for the next challenge. The final trial was a collaborative effort, a test of unity and teamwork. The students were divided into groups and tasked with defending a magical artifact from waves of attacking constructs. Elara's group, which included Leora and Cashin, formed a tight circle around the artifact. They combined their spells, creating a formidable barrier that repelled the constructs. The air crackled with magical energy as the battle intensified. Suddenly, a blast of dark magic shattered the barrier, sending students sprawling. Elara scrambled to her feet, her heart pounding. From the shadows emerged a group of rogue wizards, their eyes gleaming with malevolence. "Seize the artifact!" their leader shouted, pointing at the glowing relic. Chaos erupted as the rogue wizards clashed with the students and faculty. Elara found herself face-to-face with a particularly fierce opponent. She drew upon her elemental magic, countering his dark spells with bursts of fire and lightning. The courtyard became a battleground, the air thick with spells and shouts. Elara fought with everything she had, her determination unyielding. She saw Leora and Cashin holding their ground, their faces set with fierce resolve. Amid the chaos, High Counselor Arion stepped forward, his presence radiating power. He raised his hands, and a wave of light swept through the courtyard, dispelling the dark magic and immobilizing the rogue wizards. "Enough!" Arion's voice boomed. "You will not desecrate this academy with your treachery." The rogue wizards fell back, their leader snarling in frustration. "This isn't over, Arion. The council's days are numbered." Arion's gaze hardened. "Take them away," he ordered his elite wizards. "We will uncover the extent of their plans." As the rogue wizards were led away, the students and faculty regrouped. The courtyard was littered with debris, the aftermath of the battle evident in the scorched ground and shattered statues. Elara approached Arion, her chest heaving with exertion. "High Counselor, what was that about?" Arion regarded her with a mixture of respect and concern. "There are those who seek to undermine the council and the stability of our magical society. They see the academy as a threat to their ambitions." Elara nodded, the weight of his words sinking in. "What can we do to help?" "Continue your training," Arion replied. "The skills and knowledge you gain here are vital to our defense. Stay vigilant and be ready to face the challenges that lie ahead." As the day drew to a close, the academy began to repair the damage from the battle. Students and faculty worked together, their unity stronger than ever. Elara felt a renewed sense of purpose, knowing that her journey was far from over. That night, as she lay in bed, Elara's mind raced with the events of the day. The rogue wizard's attack had revealed a deeper threat, one that would require all her strength and determination to face. She was ready to continue her journey, to become a guardian of magic and protect the academy from the darkness that loomed on the horizon. The future was uncertain, but Elara knew one thing for sure. She would face it with courage and unwavering resolve, ready to defend the Astral Academy and the magical world she had come to love. The aftermath of the rogue wizard's attack left the Astral Academy in a state of cautious recovery. The students and faculty worked tirelessly to repair the physical damages and restore the wards that had been breached. Elara and her friends were no exception, dedicating their energy to mending the academy they had come to see as home. Days turned into weeks, and the academy gradually regained its sense of normalcy. Yet, the threat posed by the rogue wizards lingered in everyone's minds, a stark reminder of the ongoing struggle for power and control within the magical world. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue across the academy grounds, Elara found herself standing on one of the balconies overlooking the courtyard. The memories of the battle replayed in her mind, interwoven with the lessons she had learned since her arrival. Leora approached, her presence a comforting constant. "Penny for your thoughts?" she asked, leaning on the railing beside Elara. "I'm just thinking about everything we've been through," Elara replied. "From the ecliptic convergence to the exams, and now this attack. It's been a whirlwind." Leora nodded. "We've grown so much, faced so many challenges, and we did it together." Elara smiled, appreciating her friend's unwavering support. "I couldn't have done it without you, Leora. You've always been there for me." "And you for me," Leora said, her eyes shining with gratitude. "We've made a great team." As they stood in companionable silence, Headmaster Aurelius's voice echoed through the courtyard, calling the students to gather in the Great Hall. The urgency in his tone suggested another important announcement. The Great Hall filled quickly, the air buzzing with anticipation. Elara and Leora found seats near the front, their eyes fixed on the podium where Aurelius and High Counselor Arion stood side by side. "Students and faculty," Aurelius began, his voice carrying a weight of solemnity. "We have made significant progress in the aftermath of the recent attack. However, the threat posed by the rogue wizards remains, and we must remain vigilant. High Counselor Arion has a plan to ensure our continued safety and to bring those responsible to justice." Arion stepped forward, his presence commanding attention. "We have identified several key members of the rogue faction. With your help, we will launch a coordinated effort to apprehend them and dismantle their organization. This mission will require the best and brightest among you, those who have demonstrated exceptional skill and bravery." Elara felt a surge of determination. She knew this was her chance to make a difference, to protect the Academy and the magical world. She glanced at Leora, who nodded in silent agreement. "We're in," Leora whispered. "This is what we've been training for." After the meeting, Elara and Leora approached Arion and Aurelius, volunteering for the mission. They were joined by Cassian, Seraphine, and a select group of students who had proven their capabilities during the exams and the battle. Over the next few days, the team underwent intensive preparation. They studied the locations of the rogue wizards' hideouts, learned advanced spells for combat and defense, and practiced coordinating their efforts to maximize their effectiveness. The night before the mission, Elara sat in her dormitory, reviewing her notes and mentally preparing for the challenges ahead. Malachar entered, his expression uncharacteristically soft. "You've come a long way, Elara," he said, his voice filled with pride. "I have no doubt that you will succeed. Remember, use your power wisely, and never forget the importance of balance." "Thank you, Professor," Elara replied. "I'll do my best." As dawn broke, the team assembled at the Academy's gates, ready to embark on their mission. The atmosphere was charged with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Arion led the way, his presence a source of reassurance. Their journey took them deep into the heart of the forest, where the rogue wizards had established their stronghold. The air grew thick with tension as they approached, the sounds of nature muted by the oppressive magic that permeated the area. The battle that ensued was fierce and unrelenting. The rogue wizards, though powerful, were no match for the coordinated efforts of Elara and her team. Spells flew through the air, lighting up the forest with bursts of energy. Elara drew upon her mastery of elemental magic, countering the dark spells with a combination of fire, water, earth, and air. Leora and Cassian fought by her side, their teamwork seamless. They moved as one, their spells intertwining to create a formidable force. Seraphine and the others held the perimeter, ensuring that no rogue wizard could escape. Amid the chaos, Elara faced off against the leader of the rogue wizards. He was a tall, imposing figure with eyes that glinted with malice. Their battle was intense, each spell a test of strength and skill. Elara's training under Malachar and her studies in the hidden library had prepared her well, but the rogue leader's power was formidable. Drawing upon her deepest reserves of magic, Elara summoned a whirlwind of elemental energy. Fire and water, earth and air, combined in a dazzling display of raw power. The rogue leader faltered, his dark spells dissolving under the onslaught. With a final, decisive strike, Elara brought him to his knees. The battle ended as quickly as it had begun. The rogue wizards were subdued, their leader captured. The forest, once filled with the sounds of combat, now stood silent and still. High Counselor Arion approached Elara, his expression one of deep respect. "You have proven yourself today, Elara. Your bravery and skill have ensured the safety of the Academy and the magical world." Elara nodded, exhaustion washing over her. "Thank you, Counselor. It was a team effort." As they made their way back to the Academy, the team was greeted with cheers and applause. The students and faculty celebrated their victory, but the experience had left a lasting impact on Elara. In the days that followed, life at the academy began to return to normal. The rogue wizards were taken into custody, their threat neutralized. Elara and her friends continued their studies, but the bond they had forged during the battle remained unbreakable. One evening, as the sun set over the academy, Elara stood on the balcony, reflecting on her journey. She had come so far, faced so many challenges, and emerged stronger for it. The path ahead was still uncertain, but she knew she was ready for whatever came next. Leora joined her, a sense of peace settling over them. "We've done it, Elara. We've protected our home." "Yes, we have," Elara replied, her heart filled with gratitude and resolve. "And we'll continue to do so, no matter what." The future stretched out before them, a tapestry of endless possibilities. Elara knew that she and her friends would face it together, their magic a beacon of hope and strength. The battle had tested them, but it had also united them, forging a bond that would endure through any storm. As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Elara felt a profound sense of purpose. Her journey at the Astral Academy was far from over, but she was ready for whatever lay ahead. With courage, wisdom, and the support of her friends, she knew she could overcome any challenge. The night was peaceful, the academy safe once more, and as Elara gazed at the horizon, she knew that her story was just beginning. The world was vast and filled with magic, and she was ready to embrace it, one adventure at a time. Did you find the golden star in the video? If you did, leave a comment with the time you saw it to be mentioned in our next video. Thanks for spending a moment of your day with me. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps a lot. If you don't, well, I'll still love you. Thanks for stopping by.